Hi, I have very strong feelings about Ghostbusters, and I'm a man on the internet who shouts in front of collectibles, so it's very important that you hear all of them. Remaking Ghostbusters is a stupid fucking idea. A really stupid fucking idea. In fact, it might be the stupidest idea of its type that anyone's had in my recent memory. I'm a big proponent to the idea that anything can potentially become a good movie, but some things are harder to make work than others, and when it comes to remakes, it's generally a good idea to stay away from lightning in a bottle miracles that only worked out because of specific circumstances that can never ever be replicated, and there's no further proof necessary that Ghostbusters was one of those can't-be-recreated miracle movies than the fact that everyone involved in the original already tried to make it happen again in Ghostbusters 2, and they couldn't even make it work. Shut up, Ghostbusters 2 was shit awful, and you know this. That having been said, of all the proposed remakes of movies that have no business being remade, it was Ghostbusters that I was actually looking the most forward to and the most supportive of, because the decision to recast it with female leads actually was an interesting concept. No, it wouldn't be as good as the original, because nothing can be, but at least it wouldn't have been pointless anymore. It's a simple change that had the potential to create an entirely new dynamic that could also smartly complement the original's themes of being an outsider in the scientific community and the daily grind of operating a startup business, with the additional context of how exponentially more difficult those things are for women in the same field. I mean, could that work? Fuck yeah, that could work. Plus, they hired 4 really funny, really talented, really interesting comedians to take the roles. And while Paul Feig is really kind of the opposite of an aesthetically exciting director, we've never seen what Ghostbusters-style stuff looks like with CGI in the first place, so yeah, this was shaping up to be, if not a classic, then the best possible version of an otherwise really fucking stupid idea. Unfortunately, thus far, yeah, it looks like they squandered a lot of that potential. Yes, obviously, you have to wait for the final movie if you're gonna have an overall opinion of it, fair is fair. But it's not a good sign that so far every trailer, every clip, every sliver of premise, every piece of marketing, literally everything that's supposedly designed to say, hey, this is representative of the best we've done on this, please come look at it, looks just subpar, half-assed, and just awful. And above all else, it looks like a complete waste of those 4 super talented comedians. And also Chris Hemsworth, who hopefully will get to be in something good outside of the 4 movies again at some point, right? Hopefully the marketing is all wrong and the movie is actually good, but for now, I can't fault anyone for having low expectations for this one. Unless you'd already made up your mind to hate it beforehand, in which case, please shut up. Here's the thing, what you can fault people for is being dicks about something. Right now, the whole back and forth about this movie is being completely tainted by total assholes who've had it out for it to begin with before they or anyone else saw a frame of footage because they don't like the idea of women in comedy or genre movies or maybe just in Ghostbusters. I don't like that it gets in the way of a lot of the more nuanced discussion that should be happening either, but the fact is, nerd culture absolutely has a misogyny problem, and if you're gonna deny that, you're either not paying attention, you're lying, or you're a dumbass. And while the prospect of an all-time classic like Ghostbusters getting a shitty remake bugs me, what really fucking bugs me is the idea of these same assholes getting to feel like they were right about something. You see, the reason I'm not really super concerned about the legacy of Ghostbusters is that the legacy of Ghostbusters will be just fine. Again, the main reason a remake is a stupid idea regardless of who you put in it is that the original is such a singularly perfect achievement in comedy filmmaking that even if the new one is good and or a hit, not the same thing, within a year or two, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson are still gonna be the Ghostbusters, while this will be, at best, alternately known as that movie Melissa McCarthy was in between Spy and Spy 2, or that movie Kate McKinnon did before she really blew up. But if it is as bad as it looks and or fails, well, nostalgic Ghostbusters fanboys like myself will not be the ones who truly suffer from it. Because make no mistake, yes, it will suck that the ratio of good Ghostbusters movies becomes 2 to 1, but the thing with remakes is, unless they're good, they tend to go away pretty quick. I mean, when's the last time you even thought about the remake of The Thing, or Clash of the Titans, or Arthur, or Conan the Barbarian, or The Heartbreak Kid, or Willy Wonka, or even RoboCop? Hell, that one was only like a year or 2 ago, right? Fucking admit it. You haven't thought about one of these piece of shit movies since you saw them, if you saw them. Hell, that last Terminator movie was pretty much a remake, and I bet you already forgot that happened too. Bottom line, the original Ghostbusters is gonna be just fucking fine. Oh, and while I absolutely agree that making this a pass-the-torch sequel instead of a remake would probably make the buzz a lot better overall because, yeah, nerds will forgive anything in the name of continuity, I know, I am one. It wouldn't actually make the finished movie any better or any worse than it was otherwise gonna be. I mean, it didn't help with these, but woman-hating assholes, internet misogynists, and especially those delightful conspiracy theorist motherfuckers who like to prattle on about the feminist agenda, or SJWs, or the Illuminati, or chemtrails, or whatever the dead-ender flat earth bullshit is this cycle, having this movie to turn into a high-profile dud they can swing around as a cudgel, backing up their asinine viewpoint, that won't be fine. That will be terrible. Because while old-school Ghostbusters fandom will, again, survive no matter what, the state of women in genre movies and the way so-called geek culture treats women and female-centric franchises sucks already and will only be made to suck more if this movie turns into another market excuse to ignore both talent and half the audience like Catwoman, Elektra, and so forth. Which is why, even though I do think the movie looks bad, I honestly feel like an asshole pointing that out, because I have a lot of sympathy for people who want to see diverse casting in blockbusters, more representation of women in genre movies in general, and in roles that could encourage more young girls to take an interest in STEM fields in particular. And I don't know why so much of the rest of geek culture doesn't seem to feel the same way. I mean, how many goddamn people out there are still months later trying to pretend that there was anything remotely worthwhile about the fucking garbage fire that was Batman v Superman because they don't want its obvious horribleness to hurt the prospect of getting more DC movies? Yeah, I thought so. Hell, how many of us have our fingers crossed for Warcraft and Assassin's Creed, both of which look kinda bad, sorry, because we want to keep moving towards getting good video game movies? Well, fellas, a lot of the people who are holding out hope for the new Ghostbusters probably feel the same way, except, you know, they're concerned about things like the fate of representation and equality and, you know, shit that actually matters in the grand scheme of things. And while I absolutely agree that it's not cool to tar everyone who thinks the movie looks bad as being on the level of the assholes who only think so because the cast is all women, I also know that sometimes discretion is the better part of valor. To put it one way, if the KKK is protesting the White House because, well, you know why, that's probably not the day to head down there with your reasoned criticism of policy so you can spend all fucking day going, ugh, I'm not with them, why would you think I'm with them? So yeah, Ghostbusters 2016 still looks kinda shitty, but I'm not angry about that. I'm sad, and I hope my intuition is wrong this time. I really do, because while a remake sucking won't really do anything to diminish that one original classic movie, that above-average cartoon series, and that one citrus drink, it had the potential to be something special and maybe do a lot of good. And if I'm mad at anything, it's at the sexist assholes who've made it impossible to have a real discussion about that. Especially considering, wasn't part of the whole fucking point of that first movie not to harass people trying to conduct the ghost-busting enterprise just because they're not doing it exactly the way you think they should be doing it? Maybe if you're gonna go around calling yourself a Ghostbusters fan, you should act a little bit less like Walter Peck. Oh, and while we're on the subject, The Rock, please don't remake Big Trouble in Little China. Nobody wants you to do that.